but it's a nice morning this morning, and we have got a very busy and a very interesting agenda this morning. So may I begin, please, by asking, are there any apologies for absence? Okay, so with that, we then move on to the minutes of the last meeting, which you have seen. Are you happy that I sign these later as a true and correct record? Could someone propose it? Proposed by Councillor Patterson, seconded by Councillor Watson. Are you all in favour, please? Yeah, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Then we move on to disclosure of members' interests. Has anyone got any interest they feel they need to declare in any of the papers that we're looking at this morning? Okay. Now we move on to a very exciting report, which is around the Blythe Relief Road, and I'm going to ask Wojciech to give us a quick introduction, and then I'll pass over to officers. Wojciech.
So the report is about the much-needed link in Blythe, which will ease the traffic congestion on Coopen Road and Laverock Hall Road. Also takes off some traffic from the town centre. It's a long story behind the Blythe Relief Road. It took decades to come to this point. Actually, one of our opposition members said in the press that she lived in Blythe for 46 years and nothing happened. So I say in the 5 years, Conservative administration came to the point where it's actually moving forward. The reports propose the Route 5, which is not exactly the same Route 5 as it was proposed a few years ago. It is slightly redesigned with extra link between Ogle Drive and Chase Farm Drive, which is supposed to take some load from the Coopen Road to the town centre and in the opposite direction as well. Report also asked the cabinet to confirm the preferred option, know the progress of the project, and endorse a sign-off by Section 151 officers to submit the outline business case to the Secretary of State. Thank you very much, and I pass it to Rick.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. I don't really have anything additional to add to what the portfolio holder has just reported, Chair. We need to start the public consultation on this, and that's what we need Cabinet's authorisation to do, so we can progress the scheme. There have been some changes made to the original option 5, which we believe make it not quite as good as the original option 3, but it will still have a significant impact on reducing the road stress around Blythe.
Thank you very much indeed for that. Yes, and I note as well that this report went to the Corporate Services and Economic Growth Scrutiny Committee, and they have welcomed the proposals that are set out in the report, especially given the long-standing traffic congestion problems in and around Blythe, which we know about. So we as a council have allocated getting on for £4 million of money to go towards this, and we are fully expecting government to provide the balance for this really good scheme. Councillor Wearmouth.
Thank you, Leader. You know me, I don't usually get political in these meetings, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to this time. There's been a lot of nonsense talked by the Labour Party locally about this scheme, and Councillor Posh, I mentioned a little bit of it, of how long Blythe residents have been waiting for this project to get started, you know, decades apparently. Well, who on earth has been in charge for those decades of the county council? It's been the Labour Party and before, and briefly the Liberal Democrats. When it came to coming into office alongside yourself, Leader, in 2017, we were asked to put forward schemes into, you know, for major road projects, and there was literally nothing on the shelf. And I was amazed that there wasn't anything tangible to bring forward a project in Blythe. And we told officers that we needed to change that and to get on with it. And to their credit, they've done a lot of work to make a Blythe Relief Road a reality. previous consultation that we've done on this, we've tried to secure Route 3, which had its issues in terms of live planning applications for Persimmon, I think it was, on the route, that ultimately meant that that route could not be adopted and used. We're going back out to this consultation with a revised plan because we're determined to get stuff done in Blythe. And we're fortunate to have a great receptive department in the form of the Department for Transport, who have worked closely with us and with the local MP who's made Ian Levy, who, since he came into office just a couple of years ago, has made this scheme one of the ones that he really wants to push forward because it's so necessary. This project includes some, not just some works to Laverick Road, but also other works within Blythe that are aimed at making sure that we get traffic flows right and start to provide some relief for Coupon Road. But I must emphasise none of it would be happening without a Conservative administration here in County Hall and a Conservative government. We're ending decades of failure by the Labour Party across Northumberland. Northumberland is buzzing, it's the place to be, and there's no bigger change happening than in Blythe and in Blythe Valley, whether it's this, whether it's the return of the railway after 6 decades of failure by the Labour Party, whether it's the creation of a fantastic factory with British Volt in the Blythe Estuary, or JDR Cables coming there, or the port booming, or the 70-odd million that's coming in for future High Street and for the town deal for Blythe. It's all happening under the Conservatives, and Labour should hang their heads in shame.
Thank you, Richard. I do have to say that, that there are one or two, well, very sordid social media providers, which I don't actually look at. But I do regret very much that that there is a very strong Labour one that continues to find fault with never crediting good work, and then a silly one up in Beric that often just takes those and puts them back in again. So I do regret it, and I hope very much for the sake of the future of this council, the future of our reputation with investors, for our staff, and for all our members, that we do kind of be prepared to give credit where credit is due and to support those really good things that we're doing as a council, rather than just continuing to find fault, which is never helpful for anyone. Anyone else want to add anything at this stage? No? Okay then. So can we go to the recommendations? They are as printed on paper A for you. Is there a proposer? Proposed by Councillor Prosdai and seconded by Councillor Wearmouth. Are you all in favour? Yes, very unanimously in favour. Thank you very much indeed for that. So now we move on to another bit of good progress. This is around the Beric Partnership organisation, and I thank very much Councillor Seymour for all the work she's been doing on this. I'm going to ask Councillor Guy Renner-Thompson first to just introduce it, and then I'm going to ask our officer to take us through.
Well, thank you. Sue's going to talk through the consultation that's been happening so far, then I'm going to talk about what's going to happen in the future. So if Sue can do that first.
Thank you very much. Sue Aviston.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, the report in front of you this morning is to request a period of informal consultation with wider stakeholders in Beric to establish whether any models of school organisation brought forward at a later date should consist of 3-tier model of organisation or a 2-tier model of organisation. The report also sets out in detail, as Councillor Renner-Thompson has said, the work that we've undertaken with the partnership over the last 12 months in identifying these 2 preferred options moving forward. The report also sets out the key issues for you in terms of the funding that's already been allocated to the partnership, nearly £40 million worth of capital funding to be spent on education in Beric. And again, the reasons why we've undertaken these consultation is to ensure that the funding is spent wisely on the most viable and sustainable organisation of schools so that the majority of students in all phases can achieve their best possible educational outcomes. The report also sets out all the challenges that are faced by the Beric Partnership of Schools, and that information is contained in paragraphs 11 to 15 of your report, and talks about the requirement to improve educational outcomes in the area, as well as ensuring the viability and sustainability of schools. We also have a growing demand for special educational needs, something that we've talked about on many occasions here at Cabinet, but a particular issue that we've got in Beric, with currently about 38% of the children who have an education, health and care plan in Beric having to travel outside of their community to have their needs met. So this project will also look at special educational needs and how these children can have their needs met closer to home. We will also use this consultation to talk about post-16, post-18 education offer in the Beric area. Again, something that was discussed over, a year ago in the council, in full council, that local members would like to see again additional provision for the children and young people of Beric being offered in Beric. And we will also look at early years and ensuring sustainability and the quality of provision, ensuring that we have a joined up education offer from 0 to 18. What we also did with the partnership was develop a vision for change, and again, as a result of that 12 months piece of work with the heads, we have agreed set of improvements that we want to see. So again, that's contained in paragraph 19 of your report, and sets about how everyone wants to achieve improved education outcomes. Everyone agrees sustainability of education across the whole of the Beric Partnership in the long term. Improving and extending the SEND offer, as I've already mentioned, and most importantly, engaging the Beric community in review of the process to build an understanding and ensure that any growth supports the changes in schools in order that the community and the schools also thrive. We also want to ensure that schools come together to work together more closely in order to support transition particularly, and make sure we've got a sustainable model of education for the future. And underpinning all of those, that vision for change is around ensuring the best value for Northumberland County Council's capital investment. Really just a little bit more detail. We did start discussions with the head teachers and governing bodies of all the schools in the Beric Partnership, and we came up with 6 potential options of how schools could be organised within the Beric Partnership. That was reduced to 4 options, and then more detailed work on 4 options was undertaken with the heads, a number of workshops, bringing in external points of view and support for the head teachers in order that they could conclude the pros and cons of each of the options put forward. As a result of that, we have come to the conclusion that we have two models of education to take forward to a wider consultation, and that's the consultation on the merits of both the 3-tier and the 2-tier organisation of schools, and they would form part of the framework that we would then at the next stage come forward with more detailed options around organisation of schools within the Beric Partnership. And I'll pass on to Councillor Reynolds-Thompson. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really good. Scrutiny have sent us their thoughts, the Family and Children's Services scrutiny report, which welcomes the ongoing dialogue and the proposed next step. The committee understood this was a complex issue and appreciated the work that has gone into getting this stage, which was something we all do. Clarity was sought on the impact of moving schools from the Beric Partnership to ANIC. The committee were informed that there was evidence to suggest parents were choosing to move their children to the ANIC Partnership, and this was an opportunity to establish more formally the level of potential parental choice being expressed. Consideration was also given to the difference in career progression and retention in 2-tier and 3-tier schools. So the Scrutiny Committee agreed to advise Cabinet that they supported the recommendations in this report. Guy Reynolds-Thompson, would you like to add some more to this?
Yes, thank you, Leader. This began back in 2019, if you remember, and the Conservatives put £15 million in the budget for what would have been a fairly basic rebuild of Beric Academy itself. And we very quickly realised that there were other issues within the partnership that needed to be resolved, and it quickly grew to become a resolution for the whole partnership, which has various structural problems. There are 17 schools within the Beric Partnership, from Holy Island First School, which has 2 pupils, up to Beric Academy itself, which has 500 pupils. It's a mixed system. There's 1 primary school and the rest is 3-tier. We also have a quarter of children of high school age going elsewhere, down to Alnwick and also over the border into Scotland. Now, it is my ambition, whatever we decide after this consultation, whatever the system is, that this will become a beacon of excellence within North Northumberland and the Scottish borders. We have a massive opportunity here because it's not just the high school, it's about the whole schooling system. It's about post-16, which is currently inadequate within the town for historical reasons. And it's about post-18, which really just doesn't really exist. So if we can get this right, we will draw students from all over the south of Scotland and North Northumberland into Beric, which will be a massive boon for the town. The fact that we're losing children over the border when the SNP government has trashed education in Scotland is really a testament to how badly this work needs to be done. We should be taking children from Duns and Eyemouth, not the other way around. But of course, a new build doesn't fix all your problems. It's not just about the buildings, it's about the people in them. And our team, our education team here, have been working extremely hard with Beric Academy and the other schools in that partnership to increase educational standards. You were there, leader, the other day. We met with the head teacher there, and she was clear with us that she welcomes the support of the county council, and we're doing everything we can. And they have gone up a tier in the Ofsted ratings, and we are hoping that they will, in the next inspection, they'll come up to be a good school, and that's down to the good work of the staff in that school and the people in this room. It's not just about the school, it's about the town itself. For many, many years, Beric had very little, well, it had no investment. We've seen the leisure centre get built at a cost of £20 million. That's been heralded across the county as a fantastic thing. We've got £20 million going into the Maltings, which is the cultural centre of the north of the county. And now we've got 40 million going into education, which is really the final piece of the puzzle that will make Beric Town itself a very desirable place for people to live and work. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Guy, and I want to thank you for all the work that you've done on this, along with our officers, to get us to where we are today. I would just reinforce the message that this is going to be a decision for parents, for teachers, for the people to decide. We're not going to impose anything at all. What we have said, though, is that we are full square behind the future of education in Beric, as we are in Seaton Valley, as we are in Amble. We put money into the capital programme to do that, and we will be guided entirely by what people want. Complex though it is, I know we'll get there, and we will get the right answer I think, fairly soon. So thank you again to everybody that's worked so hard on this. Catherine Seymour.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I just want to thank the officers very much for all the work that they've done in the Beric Partnership. I mean, it's been a long process, complex, but we've got to this stage, which is fantastic. And I encourage everyone to get involved with the first stage of the Plan 2 stage informal consultation process with the wider stakeholders in the Beric area. So everyone can get on side, they can go online, and I think there's a couple of places once the consultation starts. So once we approve this recommendation, I hope you do. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much for your work on this as well. Councillor Wearmouth.
Thank you, Leader. So I'd just like to reiterate that thank you to the officers who've been working on this over a considerable period of time, to Councillor Rana Thompson, who's steered this incredibly well as the portfolio holder. Of course, a vital part has been local members like Councillor Seymour, previously Councillor Ruffhead, Councillor Hunter as well, and the local MP Anne-Marie Trevelyan, who's been a strong proponent of investment into Beric schools. It's a really critical part, and as Councillor Rana Thompson said, kind of the missing piece almost in the jigsaw, really, about making sure that Beric thrives, as we all want it to and need it to. We've seen significant investment at the leisure centre, the maltings. I think you could add in significant government funds into the port as well, into the barracks. Recently announced. It's really all happening up in Beric, and again, thanks to a Conservative government working hand in glove with the Conservative Council, and long may it continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other points, comments, queries? Yes, Councillor Stewart.
There, we're talking about two-tier, three-tier education, which has been controversial. I've been involved in that for a few years now. The leader did mention there about two-tier, three-tier. How does that actually work? Who's going to make the decision on that? Is it going to be these politicians here, or is it going to be somebody else?
That depends on the governance of each of the schools. As you rightly said, there are 2 academies in the Beric Partnership. So Beric High School is an academy, as is St Cuthbert's Roman Catholic First School that converted on the 1st of April. So quite a new academy. So the decision making about the future of those 2 schools will be made by the head teacher board and ultimately the Secretary of State. But it will be the Regional Schools Commissioner that will advise the Secretary of State on that decision. The remaining schools, the 15 schools, would be the decision of the Council's Cabinet around how their structure would be. So our job, again, as officers, is to make sure that those 2 processes are absolutely aligned and they're joined up. When we've been in this position before, it has been the Cabinet that has made their decision first, and then the Regional School Commissioner has actually followed the lead of the Council's Cabinet, having the majority of schools making that decision. So when it comes down to the detail of what individual schools would look like under whichever structure is recommended at the first stage of consultation, whether that is a 3-tier organisation or a 2, it would be the Council's Cabinet that then would make the decision on what happens to the individual schools.
Thank you very much. Yes, good. Okay, so if there are no other questions, I'd just simply like to say again, thank you very much to Guy Renner-Thompson for all the work he's done. Thank you very much to all those who've responded to the consultation thus far and taken an interest in this. Thank you very much to Sue, who's done a brilliant job, and her team. We will never get complete agreement. There will always be some who don't like the overall majority view on what happens in Beric. Having said that, though, I feel sure that there will be a consensus that the vast majority will agree, and once that consensus has been reached, we will then press the button and the money will flow. Because we are very keen to get on with this, so that the sooner we can get started, the better. You know, again, thanks to everybody that's been involved, and I feel very optimistic and very hopeful that we will see progress soon in Beric, which it fully deserves. So, with that, we have some recommendations. Can I ask for a proposal for those recommendations, proposed by Councillor Renner-Thompson, seconded by Councillor Watson? Are you all in favour of the recommendation? Please show. Yep, that's all in favour and unanimous. So thank you again very much to everybody involved with that. Very exciting. Then we come on to the specialist dementia service. Councillor Patterson, would you like to introduce this?
Thank you, Leader. Yes, there is no doubt that we are seeing an increase in people living with dementia. So I'm in full agreement with the commissioning of a specialist dementia service in Northumberland. I'm also fully supportive of option C in the report, which is to provide a 12-bed service within an existing care home and which will provide a highly specialist service.
Thank you very much indeed for that. That's excellent. Neil Bradley.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Patterson. Yes, the report, as Councillor Patterson says, is to get permission from Cabinet to go out to procurement for a 12-bedded unit. All of Cabinet will be aware that as Public Health England and the NHS over the previous decades has become much more able to help people live longer and have more fulfilling lives. Sadly, the mental health issues that can arise in later life are becoming more and more prevalent, and dementia is one of the biggest pressures on us at the minute as a local authority and nationally in terms of some of the more difficult things that we have to deal with as people age. We currently have no specialist dementia provision in Northumberland, and the way we are dealing with this issue is usually to put additional support into mainstream care homes where somebody with dementia is residing, or in extreme cases where there's significant challenge of behaviour for an individual, we do use facilities out of area. To give an idea of scale, as the report sets out, we currently have 30 people placed in 2 specialist facilities in Newcastle. That's not great for the families involved. It's further for them to travel to visit relatives. But this is quite specialist stuff we're talking about in terms of the ability of staff to deal with these cases, particularly when it's challenging behaviour and potentially violent behaviour from individuals. We've been in discussion with NHS colleagues and professionals. We've been in discussion with some homes that manage people with this sort of challenging behaviour. And we're very much of the view now, in conjunction with our clinical commissioning group, CCG, that if we created this facility in Northumberland, we think this would bring a couple of benefits. One being that we wouldn't have to move people out of area necessarily in order to deliver a much higher quality of service. But additionally, we could get control in a safe environment to try and improve people's behaviour and then gradually move them back into mainstream residential or nursing care from having a more acute episode. It's often at the point of change where somebody leaves their family home and enters a strange environment when this behaviour is most likely to manifest itself. People are confused, they feel constrained, and our current model of actually helping the care home by putting more staff in there actually can be counterproductive for the individual. They feel even more constrained, they feel even more restricted, and that's often when the violent behaviour will manifest itself. So the report does set out 3 options. One is do nothing, and we carry on at the minute with a watch and brief and see whether we think demand's going to increase. But all the evidence would suggest this problem's going to get worse rather than better. Therefore, creating this sort of facility in Northumberland at this time feels like the right thing to do. We could try and prop it up with more one-to-one support, but as I've said previously, that isn't what the NHS professionals are recommending. So we are asking permission to go ahead with the procurement of a 12-bedded service. We will, in terms of creating this service, we'll be working with a provider where we'll want more space for people to be able to move around in so they don't feel as constrained. We'll want outdoor garden space for them to wander. That's seen as a really good thing for managing dementia. The staff will have to be trained up to a much higher level than would normally be the case in a residential or nursing home to deal with the behavioural issues and to create a model where we can get people back into other environments. For that reason, we're looking to block contract for this. We don't block contract very often these days because it's not seen as the most economic way to do things. But in order to create the cost mass for the providers to put that much training in, we think we need to do this. We feel from all the statistics that we've got that we will fill this establishment. We don't think that there's any risk of this being significantly underutilised based on the rising demand. And additionally, it creates an incentive for the provider to work with us to get people back out again. Oddly, in accommodating environments, often the provider wants their facility full if you're buying on a spot basis, because that means they get the most money for it. So by doing it with block, we can have that relationship where we're moving people through and back out the other side again. The cost-wise, this will cost in the region of £1 million to do. I think it's about 965 we state in the report. The CCG have offered to fund 60% of this. They are required legally to pick up the nursing provision in this establishment, but a lot of the clients that go in there, they would be contributing towards funding anyway, because clearly at the more extreme end of health needs, the NHS can become liable for that. So the bill for the local authority at the start is around about £375,000 based on cost estimates before we've gone to procurement. It works out at about £600 per bed per week, which is roughly what we pay for mainstream residential and nursing care anyway for an individual. So in terms of the split of costs, we're sharing that risk with the CCG going forward. In paragraphs 3.3 and 3.4, there are some cost comparisons. So what we're paying at the minute for 12 clients is beyond what we're looking to pay for this facility. So it stacks up in that sense as well. And the only other thing to say is that it is being done in one or two other places. So Sunderland have a facility like this, Stockton do, and we've done some research down in the Midlands, and they have been and claimed to be very successful in terms of throughput for people and getting them back out with reduced challenge behaviour into mainstream environments. If we can do that, clearly that's cheaper for us going forward in terms of the provision that we need to put in there. We're not asking for any funding from Cabinet to do this. We will do this at risk within the adult social care budget and look to manage it on the basis of what we'd have to pay for those 12 people anyway in the sort of arrangements we're setting up now, and hopefully the savings that we'll be delivering through trying to reduce that challenge of behaviour and making them cost less going forward and into the future. And that's the recommendation, Chair. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Neil, for that excellent explanation. Kath McAvoy-Carr, who's the Director of Adult Social Care and Children's Services.
Thanks, Leader. Just to say that this is part of an overall kind of look at our dementia services and our dementia understanding within Northumberland, and we are working behind the scenes to look at how we develop and work together with our partner agencies to develop and deliver services that meet needs both of those who are currently suffering from dementia, but also on the lead up to look to see how we can help prevent dementia. And it's a particular passion of Councillor Patterson, who reminds us on an almost daily basis of this as one of her priorities. So we are looking at that behind the scenes, and this is just part of that process.
Good, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Councillor Watson.
I'd just like to make a comment that it's not often that we are presented things here at the Cabinet which absolutely make total sense and actually, at the end of the day, save us money as well. So I'm 100% behind this. That's, I think, was the way I've interpreted this. So we can, by doing this ourselves, we're saving doing it outside. So it's a no-brainer, isn't it? And so I'm definitely behind this, and I would fully support it.
Thank you very much. Richard Wearmouth.
Thank you, Leader. This is a really important subject to get to grips with, and it's something that will be affecting us in terms of our communities more and more. Especially, we know that Northumberland has an older population than other parts of the country, and that will only become more exaggerated probably as time goes on. So thank you, Neil, for a really good report and a really well explained report as well, because what's really good about it is that you, as you say, you're effectively doing something that's more inventive and innovative within your existing budget, and something that will provide hopefully better provision for people who really do struggle. And I remember I've had a number of elderly relatives over previous years that have struggled with Alzheimer's, with dementia, and so on. And it's the most distressing thing that probably you can go through in life. It puts so much pressure on families and on the individual themselves, and who really struggle through the time. I guess that I am slightly fascinated that, having gone through one relative, certainly particularly was in an absolutely terrible condition, going into a facility within St George's Hospital, and this was back 2 decades ago. It was a specialist dementia care facility at the time, but what their staff had to endure in some respects, and it's not a nice way to talk about it, but it is, because it is such a challenging thing for the staff. I do hope that every effort is taken to make sure that they've got the equipment, the space, and the staff capacity in order to do this, and will be really interesting to see something come back through Councillor Patterson and yourself, I'm sure, not only to health and wellbeing, but either to an informal cabinet or to, and I would love to go and visit the facility if that was something that was appropriate when you open it, to get an understanding of exactly what you've been able to achieve. And then just and one other sort of shout out really, which is that for those in the press and the public and anyone else who's watching is that a lot of our towns, and Morpeth is one of them certainly, and I sit on the town council here, that are taking strides to be more dementia friendly, and we're trying to do that in our civic buildings, and I know the county council tries to do that, and that's something I would implore businesses and any town and community that's able to embrace as well. And I know that's something that Councillor Patterson, I'm sure, feels strongly about as well.
That's good. Thank you very much indeed. I think we all... yes, Catherine Seymour.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Yes, yeah, I commend this new specialist dementia service that we're doing, and it's also within the social care budget, which is amazing. It is a big need area. I think we really need to think about, you know, going forward, putting more money into this dementia service as well. So, but top marks for getting this far. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much indeed. If there are no more comments or queries, may we go to the recommendations, please? Would anybody like to propose those? Proposed by Councillor Watson, seconded by Councillor Patterson. Are you all in favour? Please show. Yes, that's unanimous. And thank you again very much indeed for the work that's been done on this. Now we move on to the report of the Chief Fire Officer. This is the Community Risk Management Plan for 2022 to 26, which we've looked at in significant detail through informal cabinet and through scrutiny. It's there for us to agree, or otherwise. Councillor Horncastle, who covers this in his portfolio, do you wish to say anything?
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, I'll say a few quick words. Under the terms of the Fire and Rescue National Framework for England, each fire authority has to produce a risk management plan, and this is ours for the next 4 years. And the framework requires the fire authorities to consult with their plan. This is exactly what this is a consultation document. And we have carried out that consultation, and we as members have been very knowledgeable about this because it's been through every local area committee, it's been through scrutiny, it's been through informal cabinet, and here we are today back at cabinet. It's been consulted with the members of the public, it's been consulted with the 3 neighbouring fire authorities, which is Tyne and Weir, Cumbria, Durham and Darlington. Consultations taking place with the Fire Brigades Union, and there's also been a peer review by Nottingham Fire and Rescue. And after all that consultation, the plan that we saw rolled out at the local area councils has been amended to take in the consultation. And this plan is the Fire Authority's plan, Fire and Rescue Service plan to keep Northumberland, basically the idea is to keep Northumberland safe for the next 4 years. It's a very detailed document, it's in front of you here, it goes into every aspect of anything possible, but our Fire and Rescue Service does have difficulties in that it's a massive geographical area, 2,000 square miles, and because a large area with a lower than average population, funding has always been an issue, but our Fire and Rescue Service operates, in my opinion, absolutely brilliantly. And as somebody who lives out in the rural areas, when the fire alarm goes, you can guarantee the fire engines are out within a few minutes, which is and that's brilliant for a blue light service, because in the rural areas sometimes you could wait 3 or 4 hours for an ambulance. So this is a frontline blue light service, and the recommendations are in front of you. Let's have a look at my glasses on here. It's recommended the Cabinet approve this final version and prior to publication. And it is acknowledged that Cabinet members have participated in the consultation of the Community Risk Management Plan, and the plan has been amended following the feedback. So I'll commend it to Cabinet.
Good, thank you very much indeed. Are there any comments or questions or queries about this report? Yes, Richard Wearmouth.
feeling in a talkative mood today, so why not talk about this one? I just really want to say thank you to Councillor Horncastle, to Councillor Dunbar and Councillor Stewart as well, who've been involved throughout the process. We got some excellent presentations from the fire chiefs and those that came and talked to the local area councils. It was really interesting to hear how they're thinking about the future of the service and the innovative ways that they connect with the community. And it was fascinating as part of this process to see just how embedded they are in the community, how many different services they provide. It isn't the case that they're just turning up and putting out a fire. They do so much more than that. And really interesting to see as well in the planning for the future, thinking about how they're going to get to grips with some of the investment that we've got coming into the county as well. You know, we don't have huge scale factories as will be the case with British Volt, and that creates all sorts of new and interesting things that the fire team have to do in conjunction with factory owners, but as well with the Northumberland line as well coming back in, and getting familiar with that. So thank you very much, Councillor Castle. Excellent document, and very happy to support it.
Good. Yes, Councillor Riddle.
Do provide, I believe, a very, very good service, very reliable, and you know, always there first thing.
Good, excellent. Well, I would agree with that. It's actually quite interesting that we are one of the very few county councils that have a fire and rescue service as part of the organisation. Very, very, very rare for this to happen, and that makes us ultimately even more proud of what the fire and rescue service does as part of the organisation. I would hope that, and I expect that this document will go online and on the county council website. I would thoroughly recommend a look at it, because it just shows how much the fire and rescue service do across the county, across a whole range of different services that with their key and most important priority of protecting us. Thank you to all the work that's been done. Do we have a proposer for these recommendations? Proposed by Councillor Patterson and seconded by Councillor Horncastle. Are you all in favour? Could you show, please? Yes, that's unanimous. So I do hope members of the public will be able to go online and have a look at this and see what a brilliant job they do. So thank you again. That takes us to our final report, which is the summary of new capital proposals. And I think I bring in Jan Willis, who we can see the name, but can we see the face? Jan, do you want to come in? Yay. Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Councillor Wearmouth, as the cabinet member responsible for corporate services, to introduce this, and then Jan, I'll go to you, Richard.
Thank you very much, Leader. So this is about making sure that we keep our promise to develop Bedlington Town Centre, and we've got some additional costs that are requiring further funding from the Cabinet, hopefully today, of the order of £2 million that we need to provide to make sure that the scheme is realised. We've got some unexpected things that have come up in terms of party wall issues that have added to the cost. But in addition, we also have inflationary costs which are hitting construction projects across not only the county but across the country. Some of that linking to supply chain issues with COVID, and then exacerbated by the current situation in the Ukraine. But it's absolutely vital that we get this work done in Bedlington. Bedlington is one of our favourite towns in Northumberland. The residents deserve nothing better than to get this work completed, and I'd be very happy if you would agree to approve this funding and to make sure that the work gets done in double quick time to complement all sorts of other things that are going on in old Bedlington Shire, whether it's British Volt and the work that's going on there, whether it's the railway coming back to Bedlington Station or other investments that are going on currently. It's a fantastic town, and I fully endorse this funding.
Good. Thank you very much. I think the fourth largest town in the county as well. Jan, would you like to add anything to this report?
Yes, just I'm not going to repeat what Councillor Wearmouth has already said about the reasons why the costs for this particular project have escalated. But just to touch on the funding side of the equation, the project board have considered a range of options, the difficulty being that most of those options would jeopardise the £2 million of funding that we've received from the LEP, the Get Building funding. There is also the issue of commercial risk to advance that needs to be considered. So weighing up all of those considerations, the recommended way forward is that the additional funding is provided by way of a grant from the council, and that would be funded by reprofiling some funds that had been intended for other projects from within the Strategic Regeneration Reserve. There is sufficient funding within that reserve to allow that funding to be replaced in future years as those schemes are ready to progress. So that is the recommendation before Cabinet. Thank you, Leader.
Yeah, thank you very much. Richard Wearmouth, just briefly explain the reasons why we have this extra money requirement.
Yeah, so I touched on a little bit on that already, Leader, with regard to some unexpected engineering issues on party walls, which is documented in the report. Some issues as well in terms of cost inflation. I think it's worth emphasising the point made by the CFO that this is necessary not only to make sure that the work gets done, but to make sure that we keep the funding that's been provided by the government through the LEP. Again, we're really grateful that the government created the Getting Building Fund, which was designed to get projects moving like this. It's imperative that we keep up that momentum and ensure that we secure that funding and get the job done.
Yes, thank you. So also found asbestos, I believe, which always turns up in Northumberland, one place or another, when we're trying to do work. And of course, COVID's had a massive effect, not just on the cost of this, but also on the feasibility of future plans and so on. What I would say is there is a very positive aspect to this, however, that the County Council in advance have continued to work on this project. There was a supermarket there that was not really fit for purpose, and a car park. We now have a brand new great supermarket there, which came at quite a cost in terms of time and manpower and goodwill needed. And we now have this next part of the development, if we agree this today, that will take place and will be definitely benefit to Bedlington, which is a town that needs investment. We are going to see 2 million plus spent in Bedlington over the next 2 years through the Borderland Town deal. So there is real positivity here. What is important, though, is sort of going back to the thing I was talking about right at the beginning, that we try and bring everybody with us. So we had a meeting with the Bedlington members, although we didn't include the member for part of it because that we were only talking about the town centre, but we will have a follow-up meeting with all the members from the Bedlington, East and West Bedlington, and try and work with them to see how we might be able to work with them in providing what they would like to see. So it is very much a positive message, I think, that we're going forward and doing the best we can, sticking to our guns, continuing to invest, and despite all of these annoying issues that always crop up inevitably, like asbestos, we will continue to work on this, and it will be a great benefit to the town. Would anybody else like to add anything before we go? John Riddle.
board member of Advance, I'm just beginning to think maybe I shouldn't be actually voting on this.
We'll take some advice on that. If you don't feel comfortable, just don't vote.
I mean, I fully support it, but I don't feel that I should be seen to be voting.
That's fine,
on it.
absolutely fine. So if there are no more queries or questions about this, we are really agreeing here with the recommendations to stick to our guns, to see this project through despite all the issues, because we do want to do our very best for Bedlington. I do want to thank all the officers in advance for sticking with us as well and giving us sound advice, and despite all the knockbacks that we've had, ensuring that we all remain positive about this and look to the future, working with local people, local county councillors, to get Bedlington revitalised. So there we are. The recommendations there, would someone like to put them? Proposed by Councillor Foshtai and seconded by Councillor Wearmouth. Are you all in favour? Please show. That is, we've got voting members of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And those abstaining are 3 for the reasons that have been given. Is that all right, Karen? Got that? And then, is anyone against? No, I think that 5 and 3 adds up to 8, so we're okay. Is that right, Jan, or have I got that wrong? No, it's all right.
I think your arithmetic is correct, Leader.
That's good. That's fine. Okay, so that takes us on then to urgent business. I don't have any, other than to say, actually, just quickly, that we do have a local firm called Gardeners who are taking provisions across to the Polish border at Ukraine. Maureen Taylor and I have discussed potentially finding some contribution to this. They will bring back, they will bring from people sheltering on the border they will take them to those places that have been set up for shelter. So it's a hugely important initiative, and so 5 members of the Cabinet have agreed this morning to take £1,000 from their small members scheme and put it towards funding that from and on behalf of the County Council, because I think it's a really important initiative. And I would also like to thank Wojciech and probably everyone else for their part that they've played, certainly the officers as well, in doing all we can to support Ukraine through this appalling time. Okay, if there is no other urgent business, that is it from me, and thank you all very much indeed for joining us today.